the Executive Director of ICTA, and I'd like to introduce our Director of Anti-Counterfeiting, Beth Deisher.
Our big announcement, and we're tremendously excited about this, is the fact that Heritage Auctions is teaming with the Industry Council for Tangible Assets to provide a way for both collectors and dealers to enlist in the battle against counterfeiters. They will be able to donate coins that will be sold at public auction to support the work of our task force and our newly created 501c3. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. Nonprofit foundation. Virtually all of our work is educational in nature, whether it is for law enforcement, whether it is for the general numismatic community, collectors, and dealers. So it made sense for us to be able to create a nonprofit so that we could receive donations, because the task force is entirely funded by donations. ICTA has signed a master agreement with Heritage to sell the donated coins by Heritage's weekly internet auctions. Heritage will donate its auction services, complete auction services, allowing 100% of the sales of the donated coins to go directly to our nonprofit foundation to support our work. ICTA will act as the consignor of record for all of these coins, and we will only be accepting coins certified and encapsulated by PCGS, NGC, and Annex. We will be able to accept U.S., world, and ancient coins. We will not be able to accept at this time paper money for these auctions, and the minimum estimated value should be at least $250
Per coin.
per coin. ICTA's Chief Operating Officer, David Crenshaw, will be coordinating most of this effort. He, as well as Kathy McFadden, our Executive Director, and our General Counsel, Jonathan Vicinio. I mispronounce that all the time. I'm sorry, John. Will be attending major coin shows throughout the country and be accepting donations. There is a donor's form which you must sign. All of these donations, if you donate at a coin show, will be inventoried on site, and the donor signed for it, and will be shipped back to our receiving center and then on to Heritage when we have accumulated value of a minimum of $25,000. Those who are not attending shows will be able to ship their coins directly to David, and the addresses are posted, and they will be responsible, if they ship it from their home or business, for the insurance taking them to the receiving center in Atlanta. But ICTA will take care of the insurance and transportation on to Heritage. If you donate at a show, of course, we will cover the insurance and transportation to our receiving center. This is tremendously exciting to us because it allows us to expand not only our work, but create a vision much broader than we thought we could ever have at this point in time. I'd like to introduce ICTA's chairman, Philip Diehl, who's going to talk about our effort, which really started about 24 hours ago. We had a select number of people who knew about this. We're working on ICTA's executive committee and some within the task force. So we have already started with the donations. Philip's going to announce those who have stepped forward.
Thank you, Beth. As Beth was saying, we got a bit of a jump on fundraising There was a very limited number of people we could contact because we've been keeping this announcement under wraps, of course. And, but in that short period of time, about 4 days, I guess, we have been able to already raise close to $8,000 to $10,000 of the $25,000, which is our objective to raise by the end of fund. It's an aggressive target, but we want to be able to get our first auction up and running as quickly as possible. And we expect to have a series of auctions over the course of the year as we're able to raise these $25,000 lots of coins. I want to thank a number of people who've already stepped forward. Barry Stupler and company, all of these people made very generous contributions. Liberty Coin Service, David Greenstein, Dylan Gage, Weinberg and Company, John and Marlene Highfill, D.H. Ketterling Consulting, Miller's Mint, and U.S. Money Reserve. I think I got all of them in that list. There may have been some contributions I missed last night, but they are coming in. We're encouraging people to come to the ICTA booth, which is 1809, is that correct? Okay, booth 1809. Fill out this one-page simple form and make your contribution. If you're not prepared to make a contribution today, if you can come by and make a commitment and let us know, and then we can follow up with you and make sure you have the proper paperwork and we can hit that $25,000 target by the end of the fund show. This is going to be a very important and maybe the cornerstone of our fundraising effort this year. We have set a budget of $200,000. Really what we wanted to do is have a budget of $300,000 this year. But we cut back our immediate goal to $200,000 because we want to be realistic and we didn't want to get into the year and decide that we have to cut back some of our financial commitments. If we are able to raise money at a faster pace, which we think is possible, then we already have plans about how we'll expand that budget from $200,000 to $300,000. $200,000 is an ambitious budget. Last year we raised about $140,000. We started out the year with the $50,000 grant. So basically over the course of the year we raised $90,000. And we do not have that $50,000 grant this year, so we're even at a $200,000 budget. We're looking at raising twice as much money this year as we did last year. So far we have, for the most part, tapped dealers for this money. And as many of you know, this is a tough environment for our industry. And it really takes a lot for those companies to step forward and give us the $500 or $1,000 or $5,000 contributions toward what we're doing. We recognize that what ICTA and the ACTF is doing here in the U.S. is unlike anything else any industry organization anywhere else in the world is doing. And the reason for that is because the United States government has never accepted the responsibility that is clearly theirs to protect the integrity of American coinage. I know this from personal experience as being directed to U.S. Mint, and the Secret Service has never really taken an interest in protecting American coinage against counterfeiting. And we understand why that's the case. Budgets are tight. In the past and today, their focus is on protecting the president and other members of the cabinet. We also recognize that budgets are very tight, and across the law enforcement spectrum, certainly the case in Secret Service. We also recognize after 9/11, Secret Service was transferred from the Treasury Department, where of course the U.S. Mint resides, where we have a little more direct contact with them, to Homeland Security, and where they're really separated from us. But as an indication of what little emphasis they've given to coin counterfeiting, we discovered in our first telephone conference with relatively low-level people at Secret Service. We couldn't get interest above that level. But one of the things we discovered was a significant policy problem at Secret Service that partially accounts for why they have not given counterfeiting, coin counterfeiting, the proper priority. They did not know, did not understand, and we had to explain it to them, the difference between the face value of a coin and the metal value of a coin. So, for example, a 1 ounce gold eagle, when they were prioritizing cases, was counted at its face value of $50. And it was brand new to them that the United States Mint sold that $50 face value coin at the spot price of gold, which at the time was about $1,300. And so you can imagine that when you have a counterfeiting case that involves $100 bills and another counterfeiting case that involves $50 face value coins, that it was much easier to hit their $100,000 threshold before they even took any interest in a case with the currency. And so, you know, that's just one indication of the kinds of policy issues that we are tackling. The good news is there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there. They really woke up at that difference once we explained it to them. But we need to be able to get at a higher level policy area where we can actually implement change in those areas. And even to this point, Secret Service has really not been very responsive to us or even members of Congress. There was recently a letter last year sent from 2 members of Congress to the Secret Service and the U.S. Mint. This has received some press coverage. And the U.S. Mint did respond within the 30-day timeline. It was a wholly inadequate response. They had to put out a statement pointing out some of the elements. We were diplomatic when we might not have been quite so diplomatic. Secret Service did not even respond to the letter. So, but that said, and I think this is really important to understand, we have made, and Beth has made, tremendous progress this year. Not because we've been able to mobilize Secret Service on anti-counterfeiting, but because Homeland Security, in particular Customs and Border Protection, now sees counterfeiting in terms of money laundering and terrorism finance. And when we went to them in our first conference call, I guess that was in February or March, there were probably 8 people on that telephone call. And very quickly, they organized a meeting with us, and they brought 10 or 12 people. And they were mobilized immediately. And Beth is having contacts with them multiple times a day. And already Beth is pursuing 11 or 12 cases in cooperation with Customs and Border Protection. We look forward to being able in the near future to be able to discuss some of the details of those cases. There's some really substantial cases, but at this point we really can't talk about the details because they're still in the process of putting together cases against the counterfeiters. But we see tremendous opportunity, and I think one of the reasons why we're optimistic, much more optimistic than we were at the beginning a year ago, we only launched this a year ago, is because we are at the right level of Customs and Border Protection. And they were one of at the very beginning, one of our chief targets. But I think our expectation was, because coins are small and the border is large and shipping containers are large, our expectation was it was really going to be difficult to have an impact at the border. But that's not the case. Today we are already having a big impact, and we're beginning to prosecute cases, bring cases, and that's what we need to do at the very beginning. We need to put some scalps on the wall. We need to show that we are, that no longer can counterfeiters work with impunity because of the lack of attention of federal law enforcement agencies. And I think we're headed that way.